Hello, I just want to take a moment to be vulnerable and share a personal story. I was born with an inherited retinal disorder. It causes progressive vision loss. In 2018, I became registered as legally blind. I got a placard that allows me access to accessible parking spaces, and I got a white cane, very valuable tool. It allows me to navigate public spaces comfortably or safely, and just as importantly, alerts other people that I don't see so well, which avoids a lot of conflict and helps keep them safe. However, when I use this cane, it's a stigma stick. I break it out and I get a lot of attention. Not the kind of attention I want either. Now, sometimes it works. People notice the stick and clear it out of the way. A lot of times it doesn't. People see me making eye contact or reading labels at the grocery store, and they think I'm faking it. And occasionally I'll even get called up for it. People will grab me. They'll pray for me. But the one thing is, when people call me out, they usually use the word handicapped when they're insulting me. And that's the word I want to talk to you about today. You probably don't know it, and I don't expect you to understand it, not from this short video. Took me a while to figure it out. You know, when I first got this placard, I went, oh my gosh, does that mean I'm handicapped? And then I thought about what that word means and my relationship to that word. And, you know, things like handyman, the character on In Living Color. I didn't feel right to be calling myself that. And then I researched the word and learned more about it. Started to read up on disability studies and things like that. And I realized that this word is actually problematic. It means it depicts someone at a deficit and really focuses on their disability. And it's really centered in the medical model of disability. And I don't really subscribe to that. I'm not really disabled because of my retinal condition. It's really more of a social construct. So for me, I love the privilege of having access to accessible parking spaces, but I don't love the fact that the signs say handicapped parking on it. I'm greeted with what I consider an appropriate and, you know, insulting word every time I use those spaces. And then the problem with that being omnipresent in all the parking spaces across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is it gives people agency to use the word. It becomes so omnipresent that it's part of our vernacular. So to the point where when I say it's an inappropriate word, people don't get it. It's like, what's the problem, man? It's on the signs. That's the problem, and that's why. So my goal is, if we could get them off the signs and have them read accessible parking, which is what they are, they provide access, that would be a great goal. I mean, the ADA does not use the word handicapped intentionally, and they really focus on the word access in this context. And many other states have addressed this by ensuring that in their general laws, that these words are not in there. And so in Massachusetts, unfortunately, the word handicapped is used a lot in the Mass General Law, including requirements for the parking signs, which is why it's so omnipresent. So for me, my goal has been to try to get those words off the signs. And the way to do that is get it out of the Mass General Law. And the good news is there's been a bill that's been working through legislature that seeks to address it. It actually seeks to specifically remove that word handicapped from Mass General Law. So I'm thrilled to know that that's out there. I was thrilled to discover that in my research. And actually that bill just passed the House and the Senate. The problem is, in my research, I looked up what the word they're going to replace it with for the signs. They're going to take that out, but they're using a word that's not accessible. Actually, as the bill stands right now, it's going to be the word disability. Now, disability is not a bad word, but in this context, it's inappropriate and can be considered a bad word. I'm not going to explain all that in this video. Check out the link that I have with this that explains more. But the important thing is that it should say accessible. That's what it should be. And so it was a typo in the bill. I know the people that drafted the bill, I know that a legislature that reviewed the bill had all the right intentions, and this is just clearly a mistake. However, this typo has consequences, and it's not acceptable, right? It's going to require that all the signs be changed from one word that's inappropriate to another that's arguably inappropriate, when we could address that by amending this bill so that it says the appropriate word. And that's what I'm fighting for. That's what I want. The problem is, now that it's passed the House and the Senate, it's too late. Now, back in June, I reached out to the legislator. I reached out to my reps to try to get this addressed, but it wasn't really taken seriously enough, and it did not get into the bill. Now it's about to reach the governor's desk, and I'm hoping to see this get halted and corrected before it's signed into law. Now, I'm the only one who's really focused on this, and so my voice alone is not going to move the needle. So that's why I've gone to the internet. That's why I'm posting things. That's why I'm putting myself in vulnerable positions and doing things I never thought I'd do. I mean, including making this video. So if nothing else, I ask that you give me a little bit of a little leeway here as I work through this. This is an emotional time for me. So if you want to learn more about this, I encourage you to check out the link that I've shared with my video here. And certainly you can reach out to me as well. Help me convince the state of Massachusetts, our elected officials, that it's important to get the language right and that we need to get it right in this bill. Thank you all. Peace.